All right, everybody, I am super excited to launch this episode of A Shot of Wisdom with my special guest, Mike Arce. So, as you're going to very quickly see from the beginning of this interview, I was pretty intimidated and nervous to interview a guy like Mike Arce with the success that he's had and the shows that he hosts. And he turned out to be an awesome guest who really bailed me out by just saying really cool things to a couple of simple questions from me. Some highlights from this interview. So, one, if you don't know who Mike Arce is, I don't know where you're living, but Mike Arce hosts a show called the GSD Show. I'll let him describe what GSD stands for, though you probably already know. He hosts the GOAT Show. He interviews people like Grant Cardone and uh, I mean, the list is endless of all these top people that he owns. He owns a really incredibly successful marketing agency for fitness studios, and he's got a whole bunch of other stuff that we talk about in this video. So there's some highlights from this that I think were really great. Around the 3 minute mark, after I get over my initial nervousness, he talks about how he achieved his level of success. I think it's a really inspirational story about how he did that. At 6 minute mark, he talks about creating a state of mind that drives success. Awesome points. 7:45 or so. I actually asked him, "How do you do all this stuff? How do you manage to do all the things that are on your list of things to do?" At 10 minutes, he talks about how to love what you do every single day. I think we will all benefit from that. Then at 12 minutes, we try the shot for this episode, and it's kombucha. So you get to see my face as I try that for the very first time in my life. But it's actually a really cool story that he weaves around it, why it's so important to him. And then he talks about at the 14-minute mark or so about his addiction to competition. You're going to love this. Don't ever play him again in ping pong. At 16 minutes, we start talking about sales, which is pretty much where we stay for the rest of the conversation. And Mike's stuff on sales is awesome. If you know me, I don't pass out that compliment very often, but he has some really good stuff around sales and how to drive his people, because at around the 22-minute mark, we actually talk about his people. And is it that he found great people? Is he creating a culture of great people? And he talks about that. And then 27 minutes, he still has some closing thoughts around attitude and such. So you're going to enjoy this interview. Bear with me and my nervousness of having him on, but he was a phenomenal guest. His team was there. They actually provided some extra footage for this as well, other camera angles. So all in all, a great show, and I appreciate Mike being on there. I'll turn it over to the rest of the episode so you can enjoy what he has to say. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this edition of A Shot of Wisdom. So I am actually incredibly excited to have this guest today, Mr. Mike Arce. And so you probably already know Mike Arce, but he owns a business called Loud Rumor, focusing in on fitness studios. I'm going to say that completely wrong, I'm sure, and he'll correct me. But he also owns, and why I'm nervous, because he does this sort of thing all the time and does it at an incredibly high level. He has the GSD show and also the GOAT show. So incredibly wonderful programming that he does on there, interviewing, as you might imagine, on the GOAT show, the greatest of all time. So this guy has done, I don't know, Grant Cardone. You've had
Ed
like
Milet. We've had Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. We've had pretty much like all the people right now that I think are being considered the greatest of all time, what they do in the advertising business game. That Jordan Zimmerman was crazy. Right. He's $4.4 billion agency, so that one like blew my mind. But yeah, some really inspirational people.
Yeah. So awesome show. If you haven't tuned in, you absolutely can follow both of them on YouTube, if I imagine. Best way to
YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, or not Instagram, Facebook. We go live on there as well, and then obviously iTunes and all that.
And Mike Arce, I'm just getting all this out ahead of time. Mike Arce Live, I think, is the way to follow you on like across things. I remember everywhere. That. So we're here actually at Traffic and Conversion Summit, where we are both having the opportunity. You get to speak. I just got off the stage, which was the only reason I'm dressed fancy for this show, because I just literally walked off. And then you're doing a topic. Is it tomorrow, or are you on?
It's actually so 2 days from now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. We'll definitely be hitting that up. So as you know, for the show, we're going to get into the shot here in a minute. This is a whole new world for me of something he's going to make me try that's not in my normal, circle of things that I'm used to trying. But I'm looking forward to that. But wanted to talk to you a little bit about a few things. I mean, there's so much that I would love to pick your brain on. But a couple things is, one, you do a lot of information that I love, and I don't say that about a lot of people, that I really enjoy the stuff that you do around sales and sales technique and training your sales team. You have a cool story in your sales background, sitting in the hallway making cold calls, and like you really get sales at that level, and I love how you talk about it in an authentic manner. So I want to talk a little bit about that, but also as a business, I want to get as we get progress with that. I want to talk people who are watching this, business owners, are going to look at you and go, "Wow, how do I achieve that?" But you've had an interesting road to get here as well, and I think some of your story there is pretty relevant to people of like, how do I, like, how can I get to where you are right now? It wasn't always that easy. How did you get there? And just talk through some of that. So,
Well, I don't think there's any one way.
sure,
Like I got the thing that I was blessed with was that we had just stuff happen and we were forced into entrepreneurism because you see, when the economy's bad, which when it was rock bottom when this happened, you can't find a job no matter what. Anybody watching right now, like UK, it's hard to keep a job, it's hard to find a job, and then if you do find a job, it's probably not doing anything that you want to do for anywhere near the pay that you want, right? So and that's pretty much what I was up against. And so we couldn't afford to do that. And so we started a business hoping to be able to make the money that we needed for, my wife, my unborn daughter, the new house that we had just got, the wedding we paid off. Because if you remember, the economy didn't drop we didn't see it coming.
right,
It's like, it was like December. And then it
right.
just, all of a sudden, what happened? What's going on? And you think it's going to last a month or two, and it just lasts for years. So it was really, really tough. Yeah, I mean, it was basically, we were selling websites to small businesses, and we were getting people in India to do them for about an eighth of the cost, and we were making the money in the difference. And so the cold calls that you were talking about in the beginning, my wife was actually doing all the cold calling, and I gave her the scripts, and she did all the actual work based on the scripts. And then when she got an appointment, then I would actually make the sale. So my wife sold the appointment, and I would sell the deal. And that's kind of how we started the whole thing.
Which is such an incredible story. Like I've been personally inspired by it. I remember seeing you give a presentation on that about, I don't know, a year and a half ago. I think it was at Digital Agency Growth Summit. I saw you give that presentation. I went home, told my wife, who's sitting somewhere behind the camera over here, told her all about that as well. And we were talking about that situation because it actually, I don't talk about this so much, but I was in that space when you were talking about that. We were at that level where we were talking like, wow, we got to make this business thing work because going out and finding yet another job or something would be pretty difficult. And so, inspirational story, which is great.
And the question that you had, though, I think is important too, because I think there's a weird message out there. If you listen to a lot of the stories of where people are like doing what they want to do now and things are starting to work really well for them and now they're starting to inspire other people too, they usually start out with something like that, right? Like my story is one of a million, just in a different form. But it's, one of a million stories where it's like we started here and it was very tough and we didn't know what we were doing and we almost like lost it all or we did lose it all. But in reality, there's people like, Kobe Bryant, who his father played in the NBA. And, he had all the advantages. He had all that stuff. And how did he still have that work ethic and that drive? So I don't think it comes necessarily from that kind of stuff. But there's this really good book called Power of Broke that articulated it really well. Something I always wanted to tell other people too. But do you have kids?
Yeah, 3.
You ever do this and it's like it sucks, but like I don't think parents can help doing it. But you ever like sometimes imagine like the worst thing happened to your child and you're just like, oh, and you actually go to tears.
Right.
Ever happen? You're like, oh my God, like I know that never happens. Well, you went to tears because of a thought. Nothing actually happened. You just thought and you went into tears. So what if you can put yourself in that same thought of like, if I don't get this shit done, can I curse here?
Yeah.
I won't go past that. But if I can't get this done, I lose everything. My whole life is in shambles. Everyone's going to leave me. Like if I don't figure this out, I will lose it all. And if you can get yourself in that state of mind, which I don't think I can help being in that state a lot of times. Like sometimes I'm in flight mode all the time, like fight or flight mode, out of habit of being in it. But I think if you can transform your mind and be like, I've got to get this or else this will happen. And to the point where you almost come in tears, I think people will be capable of a lot of stuff because they'll have the advantages that people that didn't have those advantages were able to do, right? Like people figured it out with less advantages, but because the fear or the ambition was so hard and so strong. And so I think that was a cool book. And I think hopefully if people can get that and if they can read the book, I mean, you can really articulate well, like what you need to do to like take it to the next level. It's just, you just got to turn it on, like turn on a switch that maybe you've never flipped before.
So you brought up just an interesting point. I'd like to kind of go down this little bit of a rabbit hole, if you don't mind, for just a second, because I think this is really Awesome. One thing about you that I know, and you could probably expound on this, is that you're a busy guy. Like, and that's putting it. Let me like explain that busyness. Like, you run this business, and you guys do very well. You're at Arizona, so you have this business. You got a whole team because of Entourage here with you today. You got this team. That's in of itself busy. You run the GSD show. Also, time got to be for preparation of that, getting ready for that, interviewing people, getting in contact with all that, and I'm sure team helps with it still. And then you got the GOAT show. You have
Conference.
children.
Four
You have-
children.
right, 4 children. Okay, and then you speak regularly. You're always on stage at some place or another. You run the largest fitness marketing conference in the world. How do you how do you do all of that? Two, what do you think is the big motivation behind that? Like that's
So
exceptionally
one of
busy.
the cool things about the GOAT show is that I'm sitting down with people that are incredible. And I learned a lot from those guys. And Ed Milet said something that honestly stuck with me. And the same thing, like I felt like I was this way already, but I wasn't articulating it this way. Now that I can articulate it, it's even better, works even harder. But what he said is when I die and I go to heaven or whatever you think is next, right? And somebody takes out a screen and shows me like the man that I could have become based on everything I was given. I want to look at that and I want to feel like I'm looking in the mirror. I don't want to feel like I'm looking at a stranger. Like I don't even I can't even imagine that life, you know? And so when I thought of that, I'm like, yeah, like I could do that. Like, why am I spending so much time? And I wasn't spending time, but I'm saying, why do people, I guess, because I wasn't doing this already, but why are people spending time doing stuff that doesn't get them to their goal, you know? And a lot of times people are like, you know, well, you need time for yourself, and you can make everything for yourself as long as you learn to enjoy. The best way to learn how to enjoy something is just be really freaking good at it.
Sure.
Like you like everything that you're really good at. If you take any kid and if they just are so uncoordinated that they can't pick up a sport or they can't stay on their skates, they're going to want to quit right away. You're not going to get them back in there. And of course, everyone's going to justify it, right? If they don't like it, don't make them do it. Shouldn't do it if he doesn't like it. But you get a kid out there that, you know, goes out there and kicks a soccer ball and just kicks it really, really well. And then the coach goes, I've never seen anybody pick it up so well. That kid's going to love that sport. You know, so but we just know that off instinct, right? Like you're natural or not natural. But there's plenty of people that are not naturals. Tom Brady, we know, is not a natural, right? When you pick up like where he was and his whole story, and it's pretty incredible, right? So once you get really good at something, you develop a skill at it to where you are definitely considered great at that skill, or even just really good. You love all of it. You love that work. And so I think the reason a lot of people don't like their work is not necessarily because of the work itself, because they just bounce from thing to thing to thing, and all their friends are doing this, and none of their friends are probably loving work. I think what makes somebody love their work, regardless of what it is you just are so good at it that people look up to you. Like even hearing you say stuff about me being like great at running a podcast, that makes me more excited about running a podcast. I keep a level of excitement higher. But let's say you didn't bring it up, and I know I work hard at running this podcast, you don't even bring it up, then I'm maybe not as interested, or maybe I start doubting myself, right? Just, you see
Right.
where that,
Yeah.
So I think I think a lot of people just they work hard, like when they're working, but they don't work hard on the work that they do outside of work. So they don't learn outside of work on how they can do their work better. You know, like school is different, right? You learn during the day, and then you do homework on what you learned at night. But in life, you work on stuff during the day, and then at night you learn more, and then you work on what you just learned the next day. Like you're like, now I know how to do these YouTube ads differently, or now I know how to reach out this way, or now I know how to do this. And then the next day you're just excited to actually do the homework, and work isn't actually the work is the homework. You know, but I think a lot of people make this the work, and when that's the work, you start hating work, or you resent work.
I love that. So I got a question for you. But before we do that, we're going to get into our shot for the day. But I do have a question because I'm kind of segue into the sales world. Not everybody feels like they're a salesperson. So think about that for a second, and then let's talk about your Kavita. So I reached out, as everybody knows, on the format of this show. It's the guest choice. What's your shot? What's your thing that you like to do? I will be honest, most choose some sort of adult libation, so it's a nice change up to not have that. So your team told me Kavita apple cider vinegar tonic. Do you drink it in the glass? Do you drink it straight out of this thing? Does it? What's the
I
the
just
way
drink it right out of
Okay,
that
so
thing.
grab one of these.
All right.
Let's do one of these.
You don't want to shake it, but you do want to flip it.
You
And
want
that's
to
it.
flip it. So there's
Yeah,
like a
because
whole.
there's stuff at the bottom, and so
Okay.
you just kind of do one of those,
Okay,
but
so
definitely don't shake it.
because then it'll shoot
Yeah.
all over my.
Yeah,
that would be
and you're dressed up
probably
nice.
good
I
for
might be able to
radio.
afford it, but you don't want to shake that up on that suit.
Let's see. Okay, here. So, all right. So tell me why this is on the why this was on the list. Like your team, like it was an instant response. They told me
Yeah.
not just the thing, but like
So I
the
love
flavor.
I grew up drinking. So I'm first generation American.
Okay.
So everyone, and my father was born in Ecuador. My mother was born technically in Argentina. She's Italian, and so Coca-Cola and soda and orange soda, like that stuff's like normal. So I drank soda as a kid, teenager. Like that was my drink with every meal except for breakfast. And so I love the taste of soda. Just like anybody grew up eating Mexican food or Italian food, they just love that taste, right? So it's not exactly soda, but it's not water. And then it's good for you. And then it's weird, like anything else, when you do it more and more, you start to like it. So now I actually really, really like this. This is my favorite flavor.
All right. So this is a new
Tastes good.
experience for me. So you
Yeah.
told me it was an acquired taste. So this is gonna be interesting.
I've acquired it.
That is not as near as bad as I thought it was gonna be. That's
I
actually
think
really good.
it's good. I'm so happy because I've been drinking water all day. This is great.
That's good. It's kind of like a little little tang to it. I thought the apple cider vinegar would come through like real strong.
No, it's not that bad.
Because I make a lot of food. You know, you've seen stuff. I barbecue a lot, and I make my own like barbecue sauces and stuff. So I get apple cider vinegar, and every once in a while you accidentally get that like
Yeah.
straight, and like, it's a little rough. So I was expecting something like that. This is really good. It's
Yeah.
refreshing. All right.
So you
Sweet.
asked me about the drinking, like why didn't I do the alcohol?
Well,
So
that's not my business, but you should.
Yeah.
You share.
Well, the thing is, I've never had a problem with it. I was never an alcoholic or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just never was, right? I don't have an addictive personality when it came to like any type of drugs or alcohol or smoking or gambling or anything. I do have I'm addicted when it comes to like competition. So like if you beat me in ping pong, like I will rematch. I will beg you to rematch me until I win, and then I would want to. I wouldn't even end when I beat you. I have to catch up in my wins to eventually have more wins than you and like out series you.
Got it.
So that's where I'm like, I'll be addicted. I'll be up all night. Like the piano right now, I'm learning that, and I just spent. I think I was like on the piano 8 hours yesterday, just straight 8 hours. So I get addicted to stuff like that. But with this, I don't have an addictive personality, and I don't see the benefit of alcohol. In fact, I think somebody said there's no. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Patrick. I remember somebody who said there's no problem that alcohol can't make worse. I can't remember who it was. Somebody said it recently, and I thought it was really good. But it does not contribute to my goals in any way at any sort, and it can only take me back. It's not good for recovery. It's not good for anything, and so I eliminated it. So now I don't drink.
Awesome.
Totally cool with everyone that does though.
No,
So
but
everyone
you know
watching, like, just so you know, I'm not saying you don't like shouldn't. I'm just saying for me personally, that's the way I look at it. I don't have enough benefit into. I don't even like the taste.
And so this is the thing. That, again, I think this is what everybody's going to look and start to take away. Like I think if you don't know Mike, which is shocking that you don't, but if you don't know, you're starting to get this pattern of like you just make it happen, which is the title of your
Get shit
GSD
done.
stands for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think it's just again, you made a decision for your life and you did that. You're carrying it out, which is what I admire, and again, honored to have you on here. So, getting back to this question on sales, a lot of people. I'm a believer that really all of us are far more in sales than we think we are, especially if you're a business owner. It's interesting in my talk today, Marcus, who we both know. If you don't know Marcus, we won't get into that.
Murphy?
Murphy, yeah.
Yep.
So he asked the audience how many people here are in sales. The whole audience just raised their hand to say they all own agencies. About 3 people raised their hand and said they were a salesperson.
It's crazy.
Which is, right? I mean, I'm not wrong. I don't think I'm wrong
Right.
on this one. And
No, it's crazy.
I mean, do you, even if it's I mean, you have a sales
I don't
background.
care who
but-
you are. You're in sales.
Right.
I don't care what level in the company you're in. You're in sales.
Sure.
And if you're not in sales, then your job's probably in jeopardy.
Good point.
Well, because you become replaceable, right? Why would I have like McKenna's a video producer, right? And she sells. I've seen her do it. I've seen her come up with video ideas on her own with domains at the bottom in order to help us sell stuff, right? Why would I be motivated to keep McKenna if there's somebody here that's hungrier and let's say they are really here for the goal of the company, which is we're here to grow the company, right? When everyone interviews for the job, we all know. And they know what my role is and they know what their role is in the same role. we are here to grow this company. And I want to bring you on the team to help us with this mission. And if you will not help us with this mission, well, then you're not the right person for the job. And so at the time of interview, everyone's probably like in their head, I'll do anything, I'll do anything. And then like a relationship, right? Like the boy girl, they'll do anything in the very beginning of dating. And then later on, it's like, well, that's not my job, or I shouldn't do that, you know? And so in sales, I mean, if imagine if you can have a business where every single person sees someone walking in as an opportunity. I had this guy Jesse on my team 3 days ago. We had a UPS guy or somebody come in, and he was looking at the Fitness Marketing Secrets booklet. And Jesse asked him about the booklet and why he was looking at it. Are you a fitness user? And he said, yeah. And he invited him to GSDCon, and he said, you should come. And that, to me, that's not his job. Based on like, there's nothing in his job requirements says invite people to GSDCon.
Right.
Random people. So, but that's part of the thing that we need to be working on. So everyone needs to be thinking like, you got to come to this. You have to come to this. We're selling all the time.
Sure. So getting back to what you'd said earlier, there are people who will say, I don't like sales. I don't enjoy that. And we just talked about, you gave the example of the kid who can kick the soccer ball and the kid who can't, right? There's different things. Do you believe that if people put enough effort and training into it, that really anybody could enjoy being in sales?
I definitely believe most people. Here's the thing. So the question is the way you phrased it, yes.
Yeah.
The way you phrase it, yes. But I think a lot of people just don't put in the work.
Sure.
And so that's where you fall short. I think anybody that's willing to put in the work in anything would pretty much love everything, unless there's some sort of phobia attached to that thing that they're doing.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, developing a skill around sales. And here's the thing. The reason a lot of people think that I don't want to do sales or I don't like sales is usually because they don't believe in the product or in a product. So if you just ask a random aunt or cousin of yours, hey, what do you think about being in sales? And give them nothing to sell, just ask them that question, and they're not in sales, they'd probably be like, no, I'm not a salesperson. Well, yeah, you don't even know what we're talking about. So I love my company. I love what we do for people. And there's customers that I've developed relationships with. I'm going to a wedding in Mexico, to one of my customers' weddings. You know, I got a vacation for one of them at the last conference. I just spent like half hour on the phone with a guy 2 days ago, helping him with like, he basically has 4 locations and he shouldn't have opened up 2 of them as soon as he did, and now he's dealing with those repercussions. I got another guy that was about to go bankrupt, and I helped him get the results he needed. A girl cried in my office like a week ago. Her name's, I don't want to say her name, but she cried in our office a few days ago. And you know, for me, I can empathize with all those problems because I feel like I've been through a lot of them, or I've always been afraid of getting into them. And so the point is, I love solving that problem. I love helping them solve this problem. I know what our company does for people, and that to me, I don't feel the sales, like whatever that persona is, or that people have associated with sales. I don't ever feel that. Whatever you're feeling, I don't feel. I feel like if you're about to like do something that you shouldn't do, and I know it, and I want to stop you from doing it, I'm like talking to you. I'm selling you, right? Which we all do. Like, how many parents sell their kids? Like, you should do this. You should really. It's good for your future, honey. It's good for you. It's good. And they're selling them. But that same person may say, I don't want to be a salesperson. The only reason they're so passionate and they're working so hard to get their kids to see the light is because they really want that result and they believe in it, and they care about that person. So I think step one is you got to really care about the customer really, really deeply, and you have to really care about the result that they want really, really deeply. And you have to remember that sometimes your customers may be broke and not telling you because they're wearing the sad clown, right? And so when that exists, it's not about selling, it's about helping.
Right.
And then once you learn the strategies around it, it's not about selling them, it's about influencing them. You're learning how to use your words and your communication like skills in order to influence them to make the decision that you want them to make. And with poor skills, they would say no, and they would be in a worse situation, and you didn't help anyone. Developing those skills just gets the outcome that actually everyone wants. We just need to open the doors and show them.
I love that. That's fantastic. And I love that idea of like caring, because one of the things that I talk about and my audience has heard before is that if we're just trying to extract value from people, like get money from them, and Ryan Dice says this is, most sales processes are designed to extract value from somebody, then that's the opposite of caring about somebody and trying to do something for them. It's almost like if you do it right, the money is secondary, but it will come. It'll follow it, but just do it right. Just go take care of people. And then my experience, and it sounds like you have the same, is like, then people are willing to pay. Maybe and sometimes they don't have the money, they don't have the situation, but they're willing to try or come up with a way they'll find a way to pay for it because they realize the genuineness of what you're doing. So one final subject here I want to talk to you about is just, you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned you have a team member. What was the team member who sold to the UPS guy?
Jesse.
Jesse, okay. So I've watched the videos of your team online. I just got to meet a few of your folks here who are with them, all amazing people. I think there's a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people who will say, man, I can't find a salesperson, and you're telling us you found essentially a team full of people who are willing to sell for the business. I'm guessing a lot of people are watching this right now going like, how do I get that? How do I find, what does Jesse do for you? Just
I didn't, he manages all the account managers.
Manages
so
the account
agency
managers.
fulfillment manager.
Okay.
I didn't find all those people, and like all those salespeople. Jesse goes through sales training in the morning every day.
Okay.
So does Kelsey, so does Patrick. So they go through sales training every morning in the day. And nobody, like he wasn't hired for that. I knew he was going to do it, but he had no idea he was going to do it. But I think you got to create a culture around that. And sometimes you have to bring it up over and over. And some people are going to not like it. That kind of sucks too, right? Like some people are going to be like, this isn't for me, this is for me. And once you start seeing that happen, then usually the writing's on the walls, and one of them's they're usually going to go before you even let them go. Mm-hmm. And some people step up. You never know what it's going to be really, because you can't be there for the 120 hours that they're not in your office, and you don't know who they spend time with and what their friends are complaining about, what their family's complaining about. And so if they have a circle of people that maybe walk away from pain or walk away from stress or walk away from things that are hard or tougher, or go towards things that are a little easier, then it's like sometimes you'll see a person that's like motivated, and then they're like not motivated anymore, and then they're motivated and they're not motivated anymore, and that's really true. That's why I think one of the biggest challenges is just constantly like helping people see what their own potential really is, and then they can step up when that happens. And I think sometimes that dissipates later on when nobody's talking about their potential outside of work, because everyone's talking about other stuff.
Sure. So if I'm hearing correctly, you're less worried about hiring a salesperson in some respects. It's just turning your whole team into interested in growing the business. Like the whole team is just, they're all a team.
We're here to help
with
people,
a goal.
and the reason this event exists is to help them really, really bad. And
awesome.
So how are we not getting them there? That's disrespectful. Like we have this amazing event and they're not coming. Like, do they even know about it? How do they not know about it?
Right.
The question shouldn't be, are you coming? The question should be, who are you bringing with you?
A little assumptive close there. I like that. Awesome.
Well, because it's like in my head, I can't imagine why you wouldn't be coming. We had a guy, so I just got off the phone with the guy at 4 locations, that same guy. That guy, the reason I was on the call with him mainly was because he had just canceled with us to go with a competitor that was 40% of our price. His name is Sean. He's part of a big franchise too. 40% of our price. And he was ignoring my reps' calls. So I got on a call with him, and we started talking through, and he said, really, it just comes down to price. And I said, I got a question for you. He said, yeah. I go, if push comes to shove and you're in trouble in your business, who do you think is going to be there for you? Who's going to help you with outside of the Facebook ad stuff? Who do you think is going to be able to provide the resources? Who do you think is going to be able to provide the connections? Who do you think is going to be able to provide whatever you need in order to make sure that you get out of that spot? You think that company's going to be there? Or you think I'm going to be there? He goes, I think you're going to be there. Okay. So what are you signing up for? And he said, I'm looking to get ads. I was like, you don't care about ads. What are you really here for? You want to grow your business? He said, yeah. I was like, whatever it takes, yes. Well, if you're sacrificing, or if you're saying I'm going to save $600 to get a lesser quality help and assistance for my business, you're not doing whatever it takes. You're doing whatever it takes to save money. And he said, yeah, you're right. And I said, not only should you stay with us, but you should come to GSDCon. Did you buy your ticket yet? And he said, no, not yet. I was like, so then you're not doing whatever it takes. You're doing so little things, Sean. You're doing so few things. And he's like, you're right. And I was like, so stop lying to yourself, stop lying to me, man, and just do the right thing. Grow your company, do what you have to do. And I kind of talked him through the stuff I want to help him with. And not only did he stayed with us. Now 4 locations at 60%. Technically, when you do the math, 40% of our price. So it's like 2.5 times the cost, right? Just to go with us from the other guy. But he's coming to GSDCon.
incredible.
right? But that didn't happen because I used all these fancy words. I just genuinely cared about the guy, and it's like, this guy, you're in trouble. You have 4 locations, you shouldn't have 2 of them, you know? And so I need you to be here for your own sake. For my sake too, because I can't sleep well knowing this guy's going to be running ads and then shutting you off after that.
Right. That's amazing. Great concluding note. Anything else you want to add for the audience? Any other last minute thoughts? Anything I didn't cover or clarifying on how I described your business poorly?
No, man. I think, you know, honestly, like I think the number one thing, we talk about this a lot in the business too, with my team, and I talk about it with my family and everything. Attitude's like your biggest, like if you can get your attitude right, and you could shut off all the noise of everything that pulls you away from being great, you'll be great at like anything, even if it takes 10 years. Like shouldn't be done in a year. Like who gets great at anything in a year? Like it could take 10 years, but it's just being on the journey of it and just shutting off all the nonsense, all the things that are pulling you, because 98% of life is pulling you away from what you could do great. And if you just do that every day, like you'd be surprised how it compiles. The exact same way when you find somebody that's 35 and not doing anything in their life, it compiled backwards, right? And now it's like they have almost no way of getting to be great anymore, it feels like, right? Like when you're 35, 40 years old, like you built a lot of patterns, a lot of habits. It's hard. But vice versa, if you can build that up for 10, 15 years, it's going to be hard to not be good at almost everything that you do. Because everything that you do, you just work hard at it and you do really well, and you've built some amazing habits for you and the rest of your life and everyone that you touch after that.
An even better concluding side of it than your last story. So awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining it. Thanks for turning me on to, I might actually drink this like outside of this show now. Like I'm kind of excited about
should.
this.
It's good for you. It's good. It's good for, I think, I don't know exactly what it's good for. I think it's help digestion.
It's gotta be better. It's
I just
better
heard
than
it's good
soda
for me
or
from
the rest of the stuff that's stacked up on here.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it's definitely better than that.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.